It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast as we do this whole run-up thing towards the end of the year for 2024. Monday is out of the way, into another Tuesday, October the 8th. And new home buyers seem to be facing increasing challenges as the supply of affordable housing dwindles. Rising property prices and high interest rates, of course, have fueled demand for smaller, more affordable homes. But the market is shifting towards higher priced developments. And our next guest, we're going to be talking about this in just a moment. The construction of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments and smaller houses is declining, being replaced by larger, more expensive homes. And PropTrack tells us this morning that apartment listings under $800,000 have dropped significantly, while higher-end properties seem to be growing in numbers. Although 62% of inquiries are for affordable homes, the supply definitely shrinking, making it much harder for first-home buyers to find suitable options in their price range. And that's where we are going to catch up with Paul Bidwell, who is the CEO and Master Builders from Queensland. Welcome back. We haven't spoken to you for a while on the Real Estate Breakfast.
Good morning. It's good to be with you. Yes, I think it's about a year.
Yeah, and what's been happening in the last year since we spoke to you, with you and your members there in Queensland?
Well, there's more work than the industry can cope with, which is a first-class problem, but the challenge is delivering it. In the last 12 months, we've had the Queensland government's budget. They have gone right out with a significant capital works budget. They'll spend $27 billion in 24-25, $107 billion over the next 4 years, and then we have the lead up to the Olympics in 2032. So there is lots and lots of work for the commercial builders. And at the same time, we have state, territory and the federal government committing to this target of 1.2 million new homes over the next 5 years. So starting at 24-25, that breaks down to 49,000 new dwellings, units and detached houses in Queensland each and every year. And thus far, we've fallen behind. So that's where we're at. We've still got issues around the cost. I think the costs, particularly of materials, still going north, but not at the same rate that it was a year ago, and certainly not a lot less than 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I remember when we spoke over 12 months ago now, it was a different planet. I mean, you were having builders going out of business. It was a pretty dire situation, I remember, 12 months ago, and that corner has been turned by the sound of it.
Well, we've still got issues with builders dealing with legacy projects, so those fixed price contracts that have put them underwater, and builders can afford to wear those losses. But at some point, the music stops and they fall over. So we've seen insolvencies. There are still some to come, I would predict. We have turned the corner, and contracts that are signed this year and maybe a bit into last year, I'm confident are profitable, whether it's the commercial projects, residential development, or detached houses. Builders are making money, the trade contractors are making money, but there are still issues with insolvencies, sadly.
You mentioned that the building materials, they have gotten a little bit cheaper, but 12 months ago it was more expensive. The numbers didn't stack up. People are now looking a little bit more favourably with building. How much is that sort of saving from a year ago? What's that sort of looking like?
Well, not significant. The most recent data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics is up till July this year, and the cost of building detached housing, so a house in Queensland, has gone up 38% over the last 3 years. So almost 40%. Total construction is up around 30%. So that's the units, houses, and the commercial buildings. So we're up a third. It has come back a little bit, but still significant price rises, which is why we're facing the dilemma that we are. The developers can't make the unit developments stack up. They're just not economically viable.
Yeah, and you talk about those legacy issues that your members, your builders have got. What's sort of happening in terms of fixed price builds? I mean, can you just give us a bit of a lay of the land there in Queensland, whether that is still looked upon favourably?
Well, that is predominantly the contracting approach for detached housing in Queensland. So we know that the health department in Queensland, for their multi-billion-dollar infrastructure program, they have taken a more collaborative approach to contracting to sort of share the risk, and that seems to be working. We know that the prices, say, for the social housing program that's underway across the country right now have been off the planet. I know the builders were surprised at what those costs look like. I heard from a builder in a project in North Queensland, so 40 or 50 units. Social housing was $830,000 was the build cost, nothing to do with the land, small 2-bedroom units. So for a social housing project, which is extraordinary.
Wow.
And that's mostly driven by the cost of labour, so the trades. In Queensland, we've got a number of issues at play there, which we'll come to, I'm sure.
Okay, so we are talking to Paul Bidwell. He is the CEO of the Master Builders in Queensland. We'll come back. We'll talk more building after this.
Why shout from the rooftops on expensive radio and TV when you can whisper straight into the ears of property lovers? Our listeners are all about bricks, mortar and property transactions.
And right now it's time for another 30-second property tip. We're going to John Charteris there in Melbourne. Good morning, John. What have you got for us this morning?
Morning, Craig. I find that young people hiding behind their computer trying to determine values of property. My tip, and I say this to a lot of young people that come to get my advice, is to get out there on a Saturday. Go to as many opens and auctions as you can and try to determine why a property is bringing the price it is.
1,000 episodes. A big thanks to all of our guests for their insightful knowledge, trends and forecasts. We look forward to another 1,000 episodes together.
And it is a Real Estate Tuesday. We're talking with Paul Bidwell from the Master Builders in Queensland. He is the CEO. And Paul, next question that I want to ask you is, what challenges does the government face in meeting this goal, as you mentioned, of building these 1.2 million homes by 2029? I've got a feeling that you've got a few suggestions on how that can be accelerated with its progress.
Absolutely. So we've been saying to the government, and we're now saying it to both parties in the lead up to the election in a few weeks, that there are some levers they can pull that will make a difference. It's not going to change the dial in a massive way, but there are things that can be done right now that will make it faster to build and therefore cheaper. And what we need to do is build more homes. This year and last year, there were changes made to the National Construction Code on accessibility and energy efficiency. We've argued strongly, not in principle to those changes, but the fact that some of those requirements, the costs far outweigh the benefits. So we've been working with the government to see some changes that would wind back the cost. So we know that the energy efficiency changes on a single-storey home could be around $18,000. The livable housing, the accessibility, $2,000 to $5,000. There's an opportunity to at least halt this ongoing increase in the costs. The second thing is around project trust accounts. A number of years ago, the Queensland government introduced a regime of project trust accounts, which were meant to make sure that in the event there was an insolvency, in the event the builder went broke, the money that was owed to the subcontractors, to the trades, would be there. Now, they have not worked. We've had insolvencies that have involved project trust accounts, and the money is not there. All they do is cause stress and delay delay, an avalanche of paperwork. They cost money and they don't help subbies get paid if a business goes bust.
Yeah, so in terms of that trust account, I mean, that has been going on for a number of years. I mean, how many of these poor subbies have had tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars tied up? They go to the wall. That fund is not secured. I mean, why is that still happening in 2024? That seems dumb.
Look, it does. There's a range of things that the government has introduced over decades that do protect subcontractors and builders in these cases to a point. By introducing this project trust account regime, they thought they were going to fix the problem. It hasn't fixed it. It's simply added another layer of red tape, which has a cost involved without fixing the problem. So there's a whole conversation to be had about how we fix security of payment so that everyone gets paid on time, in full, every time. But project trust accounts in Queensland are not the solution.
Why are they not just directed by the government for building companies to have that money sitting with a trust account operated by their lawyer?
It's all about when is the trade contractor, the subbie, entitled to be paid. If all of the cash tied up with the contract is quarantined in a separate bank account for each project, which is what we've got in Queensland, it just doesn't work. The way that the builders and trade contractors operate their businesses, cash flow is very important. And what the project trust account regime has showed is that the fact that the trade contractor has done the work and is now owed $150,000 for the work, there could well be a dispute about, well, has the work been done according to the specifications for the plans? To tie that money up in a lawyer's trust account when may well still be a dispute about whether that money is owed at that point, would end up tying up the builder's cash flow and creating enormous problems on their business.
Okay.
For their business. It's a great question, but it's a very ordinary explanation I've just given you. But no other state's done this. Other states are talking about it. There's now talk about a national regime, and all we would say is, if you look what's happened in Queensland, don't use that as a template for something around the country.
Yeah, but for sure. It sounds like we could sort of go on for hours with regard to that. Of course, there is this direct correlation as well with skilled labour, which is affecting the pace of those new home construction builds. Hey, Paul, great to chat with you. And of course, as I mentioned, we're in a little bit of a wind down towards 2024. Look forward to chatting with you at some point in 2025 and, keep on trucking out there.
Good on you. Thanks. Good to talk to you.
Don't navigate the real estate market alone. Let us help guide you in the world of real estate every day. Make better informed decisions with the latest news and insights.
At the moment in particular, there's a really wide range between the top performers, Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, and those more subdued markets that you were talking about, Melbourne, Canberra, Darwin and Hobart, which each saw quarterly declines.
Yeah, so, if you're in Sydney and you're saying, oh, gee, it's not much of a rise, it's very, very slow, just compare yourself to Canberra, Hobart and Darwin and Melbourne, which is all down, which circles us back to Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane. They saw that slower momentum, as I suggested, although they did continue to perform, and that's the positive side for those markets.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone who has owned in Perth or Adelaide pre-pandemic has seen extraordinary cumulative change in home values. Since March of 2020, Perth's home values are up 75%, or the equivalent of a $341,000 increase in the median value.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.